You and I need to look into the mirror and get a clear picture of what we've become, something other than what we were born for. We were made in our Father's image. Hear your Father's voice speak to you. Remember who you are, a child of God, an ambassador from heaven. America is a frontier nation, and my friends at Trail Life embody these ideals. Our history is defined by pioneers, from pilgrims boldly crossing the ocean and carving colonies out of the wilderness for the sake of religious freedom, to those dauntless settlers who left their homes for the western frontier. Some of my favorite memories are pioneering adventures with my own sons, hiking and camping in the mountains with a few friends, and having important conversations around the campfire about things that really matter. In Trail Life troops across the country, boys and men are engaging with their community, experiencing adventure, finding a brotherhood, and raising up a generation of future men prepared to act with courage and confidence, ready to engage with society in ways that will bring heart change and grow the kingdom. I want to encourage you to find or start a Trail Life troop in your church. Learn more at www.traillifecampfire.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to the American Campfire Revival. Welcome to my backyard. I'm enjoying the American flag in the back and the campfire. Something to me about just being outside, breathing the fresh air, hearing the cicadas, the crickets, smelling the smoke, and just talking with you, gathering together as a family of faith and praying together and talking about the stuff that's important. I mean, particularly as parents and grandparents, we're past the frivolous and superficial, and we understand that ideas have consequences, and the decisions that we make, the stuff we decide to invest our time and our energy and our resources in, really does matter, especially for our kids and for our grandkids. So I hope to meet with you over the next 100 days leading up to the election and talk through principles that I have spent the last year writing out to share with you in my new book called Born to be Brave, How to Be a Part of America's Spiritual Comeback. Do you remember the movie The Lion King? Disney had a hit on their hands. All of the Pride Lands were filled with life and vibrancy, but there was Mufasa's evil brother, Scar, who got into a conflict with Mufasa and killed the king. And you remember, he took over the Pride Lands and he blamed the death of the king on the king's son, Simba. He convinced Simba that he was responsible for his father's death and told him to leave and never return. And Simba went off into the wilderness and he lived out there for a long time in obscurity. And then remember, he took up this Hakuna Matata life of apathy and laziness and pleasure-seeking with Timon and Pumbaa. The Pride Land was in shambles. All the color was drained out of it. All the animals cowered in fear because they were being ruled under the teeth and the claws of the tyrant Scar. And then there was the mandrill monkey, Rafiki, who went to find Simba in the jungles. And when he found him, he said, "Simba, who have you become? You have forgotten who you are." He was kind of like a prophet figure. And he said, come with me. And he took him to a pond and he said, "Look into the water." And Simba looked into the water and there were ripples in the water, and so the image was blurred. And he said, "Who do you see?" And he couldn't really see himself, but when the water settled, he began to see an image, and it was the image of his father, Mufasa. He saw in his own reflection the image of his father, and then he heard the voice of his father say, "Simba, you are more than who you have become. Remember who you are." And when Simba remembered who he was, and he heard his father's voice speaking to his heart and to his soul, he recaptured a sense of his own identity, and he rushed back to the Pride Lands because he knew that he had given up the role that he was born to take as the rightful heir of Mufasa's kingdom, and to rule it with goodness and righteousness and truth for the benefit of all the animals in the Pride Land, and to keep evil at bay, Scar and the hyenas, off into the elephant graveyard and the Shadowlands, and protect the citizens of the Pride Land. And as he raced back to do battle with Scar, the evil lion who had taken over the Pride Lands, Scar looked, and what did he think he saw? He thought that he was looking at Mufasa raised from the dead, because Simba looked just like his dad. And he said, "Mufasa, you are supposed to be dead. You've come back from the grave." And do you know that the courage that Simba found did not come from terror or fear or outrage at what had been done to the Pride Lands? His courage was the result of him recapturing who he was, his father's son, made in his image, the rightful heir to the throne, the ruler of the Pride Lands. And he stepped back into that role that he was made for. And do you know that that's exactly what you and I need to do? You and I were made in the image of our Father. But we've gotten lost somehow, forgotten who we are and forgotten whose we are, in a culture that wants us to believe that we are some kind of relic minority with an antiquated morality and a make-believe spirituality that just belongs in church buildings. You and I need to look into the mirror and get a clear picture of what we've become. Something other than what we were born for. We were made in our Father's image. Hear your Father's voice speak to you. Remember who you are, a child of God, an ambassador from heaven. Greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. The hijacking of culture by the elite dark forces that hate our Father, that hate righteousness and goodness, that are the destroyers of liberty and the purveyors of evil, will be shaking in their boots when they see you and your children and your grandchildren rushing toward them to restore goodness and liberty and truth. And you know what they'll think? They'll think that they see the image of God in you. That's what they should be terrified of. The fear of the Lord should come over them when they see you, who love your enemies and are makers of peace, and you're involved in your culture and you're educating your children, and who stand for righteousness. That's what people should see and how they should feel when they see you and I rushing back in to take leadership positions in our children's moral training and their education, and helping them become leaders in the world for the flourishing of all humanity. Sometimes Hollywood gets it right, don't they? They may not even understand what it is that makes that story resonate in the human heart, but I do, and you do. It's in God's book. It's the hero story. It's against all odds when it seems like all hope is gone, that the child of the king remembers who he is, and he comes to himself and steps into his identity, and he finds the courage and the bravery within, and he re-engages with the mission. And our mission is just what Jesus prayed. Oh God, may your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I love talking with you. I hope that you'll follow along with me with these principles. I've just been going through the first chapter, these last few sessions together in my new book, Born to be Brave, How to Become Part of America's Spiritual Comeback. And if you're listening from some other country, this is the same way how you're part of the Netherlands' spiritual comeback, or France's spiritual comeback, or Australia's spiritual comeback. The principles are the same. It's not an American thing. It's an eternal strategy that began in the Garden of Eden for the flourishing of all people as we take the principles of heaven as our template as our prototype, and we begin to apply them to all of the earth. And we can see the curse reversed, revival and a great awakening come to our country if we engage with these principles. Will you pray with me? God, we're so grateful that you give us the opportunity to talk with you. You tell us, Lord, not to be worried about anything, but to pray about everything, and to rejoice and to be glad and thankful in every circumstance. And we know that's because you're working all things together for good, even the difficult things. And maybe this is exactly what we need. The trials, the challenges, the corruption, all the difficult and challenging things that we see in our culture, maybe is the perfect recipe to wake us up and to sober us and bring us to the place where we turn our hearts back to you. So God, do what only you can do. We trust you. Help us to do what you say. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, will you write to me? Will you comment here and interact with me? Would you gather your friends? Would you invite your family? Could we be part of this? Let's make this a huge thing. Let's get tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands within the family of faith, across all denominations, praying and working through these things. I believe this can be the family of faith's finest hour. We are at a crossroads. We are in the valley of decision. Which way are we going to go? I believe we were born to be brave. Let's do it.